All right. Well, since we talked about what you're going to do, Austin, let's talk about what you're going to do.
Okay.
All right. So you've been clerking with us, and you clerked with us last summer, and then now you're clerking with us again, and you're debating going to law school. Now, obviously, I'm very excited that you're going to law school because it's kind of like I had always wanted one of the kids to step up and run the taekwondo school.
You tried to convince me.
Yes. Well, I think you'd be good at it. You're very charismatic, and you have good people skills.
Don't do that to her.
But so what made you make the decision to do law school, Austin?
Well, the initial decision was based on the removal of the financial barrier. But after that, and then kind of working this summer, not only is it fun to practice law and to practice the kind of law that we do here at Huff and Mason, but it's fulfilling, I think. And I'm just excited. And I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to work this summer, and I'll have the opportunity to work these next 3 years and kind of have 5 whole years under my belt in all the court systems, in front of all the judges, picking the brain of you and Dave and Brian. And I'm just excited to be in that world, to be a part of the being attorney, crossing the bar,
Yeah, so you had said something once before that really meant a lot to me, whether you meant to or actually meant it, where, because, I've gotten some pushback from certain people sometimes about being a criminal defense lawyer, right? And I take it somewhat personally because I fervently believe we're not only guaranteed under the Constitution, but essential through the course of justice. I think we have to exist. And if not, there's tyranny, honestly. I mean, that's how passionate I am about it. But I knew that sometimes you got flack from folks over it. And then you made the comment, might have been on here, matter of fact, at one point, about how your eyes had been opened a little different on how we do what we do. So elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I'm curious to hear that. It was one client, really, because obviously in criminal defense work, you do have the criminals. And, they did do a crime. They are guilty.
Allegedly.
Well, allegedly. And more or less, you are a liaison, the facts are against them, the reality of the situation is against them, and you're a liaison. But there are the cases, and this is the case even with people that, maybe did something, but it was just, they messed up, and it was their worst day of their life. It was the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And there was a kid that came in here, he was 17, facing something for being intoxicated, like is it DWI or something like that?
Maybe.
And he came in and he had a wad of cash in his hand, and he was shaking like this, shaking. And he said, "I need to talk to the Kickin Lawyer." And I walk into the front of the lobby and I see him talking to Molly at the front desk, and he is scared to death, terrified. The worst thing that's ever happened to him has happened. He's coming in here for help. And nobody at that time, except for you, is going to be able to calm him down and tell him that this isn't the end of your world. This isn't the end of your life. And that is more noble than most things everybody does every day, I think. So that's kind of my piece on it, is there is a nobility that you don't see. You get the label that, well, you're a criminal defense, you're crooked, you're trying to slip through the cracks and all this. It's like, no, we're trying to help these people to the best of their ability, to the best of our ability within their constitutional rights. And that's what we do. And that's kind of my take on it. Because I did struggle.
Yeah, well, I that means a lot to me, because it's one of those things where until you've walked the day in those shoes, it's a very difficult. There's a lot of things like that in life. That's why I try to not jump to judgment on other things that are controversial that we won't talk about. But until I've walked a day in those shoes, you really don't know. It's easy for people to say that this is wrong or that is wrong, or, well, I would do da-da-da and I would do. You don't know till you've been there. And I said the same thing. I had a similar epiphany with Brian when one of the first cases I dealt with him, and because Brian will remember, one of the very first times that I went with you anywhere, we went to the prison over there. It was open in Mason, and we visited that guy who was accused of pretty shady stuff, and he was guilty. And anyway, and Brian was like, we get out of there, and this guy looked like, literally, if you looked up pedophile in encyclopedia, is this guy's picture, right? Cool. And I was still thinking like a cop, feeling like a cop, and I was like, how can you even defend this guy? Like, why, how is so creepy and so this and that. And you know, you have those struggles,
Right.
but then at the same time, we have people come in that, you know, it is the worst day of their life. And sometimes they are innocent, you know. Now, yeah, majority of the time, maybe they did something, but even sometimes when they did something, they might not have done what they were charged with. And then even more so, they still have rights. They're
Right.
humans.
Right.
You know, and it's like why I say, again, I circle back on the whole with Jesus. Jesus went to the sinners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jesus, he didn't go to these people that are already like saints. You know, he went to the people that are really struggling, and that's what we deal with a lot of times. So, and we just try to help them as best we can.
Yeah.
You know, and I really believe that the justice system, if I do my job fervently, if the district attorney does their job fervently, justice is going to hopefully reign. Right. And but it is a lot of weight on us. You know,
Right.
I lose sleep a lot over some of these cases. You know, I got one right now I just met with that I'm going to lose sleep. Brian, do you lose any sleep over the cases?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, that's what people ask me. They're like, "Well, you're trying
I've
to,
been doing this long enough.
you're
Yeah.
trying to get them off or whatever," and it's like, really, in all reality, justice will, like you said, reign.
Right.
In all reality, you know, the facts are the facts, and and it will be what it's going to be.
Well, I'm going to tell you, when there isn't a difference in how aggressive I litigate a case, whether they're guilty or innocent. Like if I know that they did or didn't do it, I'm still going to aggressively do it. What's
Sure.
difference is the personal stress load. You know, if we go to trial with somebody and we really feel they're innocent, that does weigh on you. Versus if you go to trial, you work just as hard over it, you know, but
We've had a few of those.
yeah. I mean, it does happen.
Trials, even if you're going into it from a standpoint of they did something, they're still stressful.
Yeah.
But it's even more stressful when you're dealing with somebody that didn't do it,
Right.
or is accused of a lot more horrible things than what really happened, that sort of thing.
What do you think, McKenna,
I
about
just-
him being a lawyer?
Well, I support him completely, and then whatever he decides as far as what law he would like to practice, I'm supporting. But I just think it's important that people have an advocate, and so if you have that perspective, that viewpoint has helped me a lot as far as like coming to terms with some of the things that he'll have to do or maybe have to see and that kind of stuff. So understanding that everybody deserves the right to be defended in that way, I don't have a problem.
Well, that's the keystone term is rights.
Well, yeah, like
Our system,
you have rights.
you have
and
rights
so
within our system.
I look at, well, specifically like defense attorneys as advocates. And so it's like somebody needs somebody, regardless of the action or the decision made, those people still deserve to have somebody walk with that through them or walk with them through that.
Somebody to love.
Well, I don't mean that sappy, but for real,
No,
like,
I mean-
and I put myself like in the shoes of the kid who came in with the wad of cash. Like that's really like, that's tender. Like, so I just think about the vulnerability
Well, a
of
lot of
being in the
people don't
place to
understand
ask for help. Like you need help.
A lot of people don't understand that it's not the money.
Yeah.
We do a lot of
Right.
stuff for free.
Right.
Pro bono.
Especially Brian.
Brian has a big heart.
I say wad of cash because he had it crumpled up in his hand.
Well, what
like,
I mean by that is just
sweaty
like,
and
well, I just think that kid, he just needed help. And so again, there is certain
Yeah,
ability in.
Brian had never gotten paid until he let me take management of the firm.